Lisa had always been the type of person who put everyone else first. At 34, she taught art at the local elementary school and somehow managed to make every day feel like an adventure for her students. Her husband Mike worked construction, coming home each evening with dirt under his fingernails and stories about the houses he was helping build. Their life wasn't fancy, but it was good. Really good. Their 8-year-old son Tommy was obsessed with baseball cards and could talk for hours about player statistics that Mike pretended to understand. Their 6-year-old daughter Amy had inherited her mother's artistic eye and turned their refrigerator into a constantly changing art gallery. It was supposed to be just a regular checkup. Lisa had been feeling tired lately, more tired than usual. Mike had been nagging her to see the doctor for weeks. "You're always taking care of everyone else," he'd said one morning while packing his lunch. "When's the last time you took care of yourself?" The waiting room smelled like disinfectant and had magazines from 3 years ago. Lisa flipped through them without really reading, checking her phone every few minutes. She had papers to grade and needed to pick up supplies for tomorrow's art project. Her mind was already planning the rest of her day when Dr. Peterson called her name. The appointment started normal enough. Height, weight, blood pressure. Dr. Peterson had delivered both her babies and had always been straight with her. He was the kind of doctor who remembered to ask about your kids and actually listened to the answers. But today felt different. The questions went on longer than usual. When did the fatigue start? Any pain in her back or stomach? Any changes in appetite? Lisa answered honestly, though she downplayed most of it. She was a busy mom and teacher. Of course she was tired. "I'd like to run some tests," Dr. Peterson said, his voice gentle but serious. "Probably nothing to worry about, but let's make sure everything's okay." The blood work came back first. Then more tests. Then a scan that required her to drink chalk-flavored liquid that made her stomach turn. Mike took time off work to drive her to the appointments, something that should have made her happy but instead filled her with worry. Mike never missed work. 3 weeks later, they sat in Dr. Peterson's office again. This time there was another doctor there too, Dr. Williams, an oncologist. Lisa's heart started beating faster the moment she saw the second white coat. "Lisa," Dr. Peterson began, his hands folded on the desk, "I'm afraid we found something." The words that followed seemed to float in the air like smoke. "Pancreatic cancer. Stage 3, aggressive, treatment options." The doctor's voices became distant, like they were speaking from the end of a long tunnel. Mike's hand found hers and squeezed so hard it almost hurt. She looked at him and saw her own fear reflected in his eyes. He was trying to be strong, she could tell, but his face had gone completely white. "What does this mean?" Mike asked, his voice barely above a whisper. "I mean, what are we looking at here?" Dr. Williams leaned forward, her expression kind but honest. "We're going to fight this aggressively. There are treatment options and we've caught it before it spread to other organs. But I won't lie to you, this is serious." Lisa felt like she was watching this happen to someone else. How could she have cancer? She ate vegetables. She didn't smoke. She exercised when she could find time. This was the kind of thing that happened to other people. People in movies or on the news. "How long do we have?" Lisa heard herself ask. "Let's focus on treatment first," Dr. Williams said. "We'll know more after we start." The drive home was silent except for the radio playing softly in the background. Some cheerful pop song that felt completely wrong for the moment. Mike pulled into their driveway and turned off the engine, but neither of them moved to get out. "The kids," Lisa said finally. "We'll figure it out," Mike said, though his voice shook slightly. "We'll tell them together. Tonight." They sat in the car for another 10 minutes, watching their house through the windshield. It looked exactly the same as it had that morning, but everything felt different now. The yellow paint Mike had helped her pick out last spring. The basketball hoop he'd installed for Tommy. Amy's chalk drawing still visible on the sidewalk. Inside, Lisa's sister Elena was waiting with the kids. She took one look at their faces and knew something was wrong. After sending Tommy and Amy upstairs to play, the 3 adults sat at the kitchen table where Lisa and Mike had shared thousands of meals, made countless plans, dreamed about their future. "How bad?" Elena asked simply. "Bad," Mike said, his voice cracking for the first time that day. That night, after they'd somehow found the words to explain to Tommy and Amy that Mommy was sick, but the doctors were going to help her get better, Lisa and Mike lay in their bed staring at the ceiling. The house was quiet except for the familiar sounds of their life. the refrigerator humming, the old pipes settling. A neighbor's dog barking in the distance. "I'm scared," Lisa whispered into the darkness. Mike turned toward her and pulled her close. "Me too," he admitted. "But we're going to fight this thing. All of us." Lisa pressed her face against his chest and listened to his heartbeat, steady and strong. Tomorrow would bring doctors and treatment plans and difficult conversations. But right now, in this moment, they were still just Lisa and Mike. Still the couple who'd fallen in love in high school. Still the parents who read bedtime stories and made pancakes on Saturday mornings. "I love you," she said. "I love you too," he replied, his arms tightening around her. More than anything. Outside their bedroom window, the world kept spinning. Life kept moving forward, but inside that small house on Maple Street, time seemed to slow down as if the universe was giving them a moment to catch their breath before the real fight began. The next morning came too soon and not soon enough. Lisa woke up hoping for just a split second that yesterday had been a nightmare. But Mike's red-rimmed eyes and the stack of medical pamphlets on their nightstand brought reality crashing back. "Mom, you look tired," Amy said at breakfast, climbing onto Lisa's lap with a piece of toast covered in strawberry jam. "Just didn't sleep well." "Sweetheart," Lisa managed, smoothing her daughter's hair. She caught Mike's eye across the table and saw the same thought reflected there. How many more mornings like this would they have? But Lisa wasn't the type to stay down for long. By the time the kids left for school, she had her laptop open and was researching everything she could find about pancreatic cancer. Mike called his foreman and explained the situation, grateful when his boss immediately told him to take whatever time he needed. "We're going to beat this," Lisa announced, surrounded by printouts and medical websites. "Look, there are new treatments, clinical trials, people who've survived this." Mike loved this about his wife, her determination, her refusal to give up. But the statistics on those websites made his stomach turn. He focused instead on making coffee and planning their next steps. Dr. Williams had scheduled them to meet with the full treatment team on Thursday. Lisa spent the days between appointments making lists of questions, researching the doctors and learning medical terms she'd never wanted to know. Mike went with her to everything, carrying a notebook and writing down things Lisa might forget later. Elena moved into their guest room without being asked. She took vacation time from her job at the bank and somehow managed to make everything feel normal for Tommy and Amy. She helped with homework, made dinner, and kept the house running while Lisa and Mike focused on doctors and treatment plans. The cancer center was nothing like the small doctor's office where they'd gotten the diagnosis. This place was massive, with multiple buildings and people everywhere. Lisa felt small walking through the lobby, seeing other patients in various stages of treatment. Some looked perfectly healthy, others were clearly fighting hard battles. Lisa Chen, a nurse with a kind smile, called their names. They followed her through a maze of hallways to a conference room where 3 doctors waited. Dr. Williams was there, along with Dr. Rodriguez, the surgeon, and Dr. Kim, who would handle chemotherapy. They spread out scans and charts on the table like they were planning a military operation. In a way, Lisa thought, that's exactly what they were doing. "The good news," Dr. Rodriguez said, pointing to the scans, "is that we caught this before it spread to your liver or other organs. The tumor is large, but it's contained. We're recommending a combination approach," Dr. Williams added. "Chemotherapy first to shrink the tumor, then surgery, then more chemotherapy to make sure we got everything." The timeline stretched out in front of them. 6 months of treatment, maybe more. Lisa's mind immediately went to her students, to the art projects they'd planned, to Tommy's baseball season and Amy's first school play. "I teach elementary school," Lisa said. "When can I go back to work?" The doctors exchanged glances. "Let's see how you respond to treatment," Dr. Kim said gently. "Some patients can work through chemotherapy. Others need to focus on healing." Mike asked about insurance, about costs, about side effects. Lisa asked about success rates, about clinical trials, about what she could do to improve her chances. They filled out forms and scheduled appointments and left with a binder full of information that felt both hopeful and overwhelming. Word spread quickly through their small town. Lisa's principal, Mrs. Martinez, called to say the school would hold her job as long as needed. Mike's crew sent a gift card and offered to help with anything around the house. Parents from Tommy and Amy's classes organized meal deliveries and offered to help with carpools. "I didn't realize we had so many people who cared about us," Lisa said one evening, reading through cards and messages, Small towns, Mike replied, but his voice was thick with emotion. He'd lived here his whole life but had never experienced support like this. Lisa's first chemotherapy session was scheduled for the following Monday. She spent the weekend doing normal things, grocery shopping, helping Tommy practice batting, teaching Amy how to paint watercolor flowers. She wanted to remember what normal felt like before treatment changed everything. Sunday night, they had what Lisa called a family meeting at the kitchen table. Tommy and Amy sat across from their parents, looking serious and a little scared. "Tomorrow I start my medicine," Lisa explained. "It might make me feel sick sometimes and I might lose my hair." "All of it?" Amy asked, reaching out to touch Lisa's long black hair. "Maybe, but it will grow back when I'm all better." Tommy had been quiet through most of the conversation. Finally, he spoke up. "Are you going to die?" The question hung in the air like a weight. Lisa reached across the table and took his hand. "The doctors are going to do everything they can to make me better," she said honestly, "and I'm going to fight as hard as I can. But I can't promise you anything except that we're going to face this together, as a family." Mike nodded, "And no matter what happens, nothing changes how much we love you guys." That night, after the kids were asleep, Lisa and Mike sat on their back porch looking at the stars. It was early spring and the air still had a bite to it, but Lisa wanted to be outside. "I keep thinking about all the things I want to see," she said. "Tommy's first girlfriend, Amy learning to drive, growing old with you." "You're going to see all of that," Mike said firmly. "We've got the best doctors, the best treatment plan. You're the strongest person I know." Lisa leaned against his shoulder. "I hope you're right." "I am right," Mike said, wrapping his arms around her. "This cancer picked the wrong family to mess with." Inside the house, Elena was doing dishes and folding laundry, making sure everything was ready for whatever tomorrow would bring. The refrigerator was covered with Amy's artwork and Tommy's school papers, just like always. Life was about to change in ways they couldn't imagine, but some things, love, family, hope, and would remain constant. Lisa looked up at the stars and made a silent promise. She would fight with everything she had. For Mike, for Tommy and Amy, for all the tomorrows they'd planned together. This was their battle plan, and they were ready to begin. The chemotherapy center looked like a fancy coffee shop, if coffee shops had medical equipment and people connected to IV drips. Lisa tried to focus on the comfortable chairs and soft lighting instead of the reality of why she was there. "First time?" asked the woman in the chair next to her. She was probably in her 60s, with a colorful scarf wrapped around her head and a smile that somehow made the whole place feel less scary. "Is it that obvious?" Lisa replied, settling into her assigned chair while the nurse prepared her IV. "Honey, we all had a first time," the woman laughed. "I'm Patricia. Been coming here for 3 months now. The staff here is wonderful and the chairs are actually pretty comfortable once you get used to them." Mike sat in the visitor chair beside Lisa, holding her hand as the nurse inserted the IV. He'd taken the morning off work and planned to stay for the entire 4-hour session. Lisa had told him he didn't need to, but he wouldn't hear of it. The first treatment wasn't as bad as Lisa had imagined. She felt tired afterward, like she was coming down with the flu, but nothing dramatic happened. Mike drove her home carefully, watching her face for any signs of distress. "That wasn't so terrible," Lisa said as they pulled into their driveway. By the next morning, she understood why the doctors had warned her about delayed reactions. The fatigue hit her like a truck. Simple tasks like making breakfast felt overwhelming. When Tommy asked for help with his math homework, Lisa had to read the same problem 3 times before it made sense. "Mom, you look green," Amy observed with the brutal honesty of a 6-year-old. "Just a little tired." "Baby," Lisa said, though she did feel queasy. Elena took over breakfast duties while Lisa retreated to the couch with a cup of ginger tea. Despite feeling awful, Lisa was determined to maintain some normalcy. She still helped the kids with their bedtime routine, even if it meant taking breaks to sit down. She still read them stories, even if her voice was weaker than usual. By the end of the first week, Lisa's appetite had disappeared almost completely. Food tasted like cardboard, and the smell of cooking made her stomach turn. Elena became creative with smoothies and soups, trying to find things Lisa could keep down. "You have to eat something," Mike said gently, sitting beside her on the couch with a bowl of chicken broth. "I know," Lisa replied, "but even the smell made her feel sick. I just can't right now." The second chemotherapy session was harder. Lisa knew what to expect now, which somehow made it worse. Patricia was there again, chatting cheerfully about her grandchildren while the medicine dripped into her arm. "How do you stay so positive?" Lisa asked. "Some days I don't," Patricia admitted. "Some days I cry in my car before I come in here. But I've got too much to live for to stay down for long. My youngest granddaughter is getting married next spring, and I plan to dance at her wedding." After the second treatment, Lisa's hair started falling out. Not all at once like in movies, but gradually. She'd find strands on her pillow and the shower drain on her clothes. It felt like losing pieces of herself bit by bit. "Maybe we should cut it short," Elena suggested gently. "Make it easier to manage." Lisa stared at herself in the bathroom mirror. Her hair had always been her pride. Long, thick, and shiny. Mike loved running his fingers through it. But now it was thinning and dull, a reminder of everything that was wrong with her body. "Okay," she said finally. "Let's do it." They went to Maria's salon, the same place where Lisa had gotten her hair done for her wedding. Maria took her time, cutting carefully and talking about everything except cancer. When she was done, Lisa looked like a different person, still beautiful but changed. "You look like that actress," Amy said when Lisa came home. "The one in the spy movie." "Very sophisticated," Mike agreed, kissing the top of her head. But Lisa caught him looking at her reflection later that evening, and she saw the sadness in his eyes. By the fourth treatment, Lisa had to admit she couldn't keep teaching. The fatigue was too overwhelming, and she couldn't concentrate well enough to manage a classroom full of energetic kids. Her principal was understanding, and her students made her a giant card covered in their handprints and messages like, "Get well soon," "Mrs. Chen and we miss you." Mike had become an expert at things he'd never imagined doing. He learned to braid Amy's hair. Though his first attempts looked like something a bird might build a nest in, he figured out how to help Tommy with his reading assignments and somehow managed to keep up with the laundry. "Dad, this doesn't look right," Amy said, looking at her lopsided pigtails in the mirror. "It's artistic," Mike replied, making her giggle. The house developed new rhythms around Lisa's treatment schedule. Good days and bad days became clearly defined. On good days, Lisa had energy to play board games with the kids or help them with art projects. On bad days, she spent most of her time on the couch, but the kids adapted by bringing their homework and toys to the living room so they could be near her. "Are you getting better, Mommy?" Amy asked one afternoon, snuggled against Lisa's side while they watched a movie. "The medicine is working," Lisa said carefully. "It's fighting the bad cells in my body." Tommy, who was becoming more serious by the day, looked up from his comic book. "When will we know if it's working?" "The doctors will do tests in a few weeks," Lisa explained. "Then we'll know more." What she didn't tell them was how scared she was that the treatment wasn't working fast enough. Dr. Kim had mentioned that some patients responded better than others, and Lisa worried constantly about which group she'd fall into. Mike worried too, though he tried to hide it. Late at night, after Lisa had fallen asleep from exhaustion, he'd lie awake calculating medical bills and wondering how long he could keep taking time off work. His boss was understanding, but construction jobs didn't wait for family emergencies. The worst part wasn't the physical symptoms. It was watching her family struggle. Elena had dark circles under her eyes from taking care of everyone. Tommy had started having nightmares. Amy had become clingy and threw tantrums when Lisa couldn't do things they used to do together. But there were good moments too. Patricia and Lisa had become friends, texting each other between treatments and celebrating small victories. The neighborhood support continued with meal deliveries and offers to help with yard work. Lisa's students sent artwork that now covered every wall in the house, bright reminders that life continued beyond cancer. One evening, as Lisa sat on the porch watching Mike teach Tommy how to throw a curveball, she realized something had changed. Not just in her body, but in how her family worked together. They were stronger now, more careful with each other, more grateful for ordinary moments. "Strike 3, Mike called out as Tommy's pitch sailed perfectly over the plate they'd drawn in chalk. "Did you see that, Mom?" Tommy yelled, running toward the porch with excitement. "I saw it," Lisa called back, her voice weak but proud. "That was amazing." As the sun set behind their house, painting everything in golden light, Lisa felt something she hadn't expected to feel during cancer treatment. Peace. The fight was far from over, but they were facing it together, and somehow that made all the difference. Between the 6th and 7th chemotherapy treatments, something unexpected happened. Lisa woke up one morning feeling almost normal. Not perfect, but like herself again. The constant nausea had backed off, and for the first time in weeks, the smell of coffee didn't make her stomach turn. "I think I want pancakes," she announced to Mike, who was getting ready for work. He stopped tying his boots and stared at her. "Pancakes? Real pancakes?" "With blueberries," she said, stretching in bed like a cat in a sunny window. "And maybe some of that maple syrup Tommy likes." Mike called in late to work and spent the morning making the biggest, fluffiest pancakes their kitchen had ever seen. Tommy and Amy sat at the table with wide eyes, watching their mother eat actual food with actual appetite for the first time in months. "This is the best day ever," Amy declared, syrup on her chin and happiness radiating from her small face. Dr. Kim explained that many patients experienced windows of feeling better between treatments. "Your body is adjusting to the medication," she said during Lisa's next appointment. "This is actually a good sign." Lisa decided not to waste a single minute of feeling good. That weekend, she convinced Mike to take the family to the beach, something they hadn't done since before her diagnosis. It was only an hour's drive, but it felt like traveling to another world. The ocean air filled Lisa's lungs in a way that hospital air never could. She sat on a blanket watching Mike build sandcastles with the kids, the sun warm on her face and the sound of waves drowning out everything else. For a few hours, cancer felt like something that happened to other people. "Look, Mommy," Amy called out, running toward her with a perfect shell. "It's pink like your favorite sweater." "It's beautiful," Lisa said, examining the shell carefully. "We'll put it on the kitchen windowsill so we can remember this day." That evening, as they drove home with sandy feet and tired kids sleeping in the back seat, Mike reached over and took Lisa's hand. "I'd forgotten what you looked like when you were happy," he said quietly. "I'd forgotten what happy felt like," Lisa replied. The good days became precious gifts they learned not to take for granted. On those days, Lisa would do things that mattered. She helped Amy learn to ride her bike without training wheels, running alongside her while Amy wobbled and shrieked with delight. She attended one of Tommy's baseball games, cheering from the bleachers when he hit his first double of the season. But the most important thing Lisa did on her good days was talk with Mike. Really talk, in ways they hadn't since they were teenagers. They'd sit on their back porch after the kids went to bed, sharing thoughts and memories they'd never bothered to put into words before. "Do you remember our first apartment?" Lisa asked one evening, wrapped in a blanket with her head on Mike's shoulder. "The one with the leaky faucet and the neighbors who played music too loud?" Mike laughed. "We were so broke we ate ramen noodles for dinner 4 nights a week. But we were happy," Lisa said. "I don't think I've ever been happier than I was in that terrible little apartment with you." "We were kids," Mike said. "We thought we had forever to figure everything out." "Maybe we did," Lisa said softly. "Maybe forever isn't about time. Maybe it's about moments like this." On her good days, Lisa also started writing. She'd never been much of a writer, but something about facing cancer made words feel important. She bought a journal for each of her children and began filling them with stories they might want to know someday. For Tommy, she wrote about the day he was born during a snowstorm, how Mike had to carry her to the car because the sidewalks were too icy to walk on. She wrote about his first word, which was ball, and how he'd carry a soccer ball everywhere he went until he was 3 years old. For Amy, she wrote about tiny hands and the way she used to fall asleep on Lisa's chest, her breath warm against Lisa's neck. She wrote about Amy's first attempts at drawing, how she'd concentration so hard her tongue would stick out the corner of her mouth. "What are you writing about?" Amy asked one afternoon, climbing onto Lisa's lap while she worked in the journal. "About you," Lisa said, kissing the top of her daughter's head. "About how much I love you and all the wonderful things you do. Will you read it to me?" "Someday," Lisa promised. "When you're older and can understand all the big words." Mike found Lisa writing one evening and sat down beside her on the couch. "What's that one?" he asked, nodding toward the journal in her lap. "Yours," Lisa said simply. Mike's face changed. "Lisa, you don't need to—" "Yes, I do," she interrupted gently. "I need you to know things. About how proud I am of the father you've become. About how safe you've always made me feel. About that time you drove 4 hours to bring me soup when I had the flu in college. You remember that?" "I remember everything," Lisa said. "That's what I'm writing about. All the little things that made our life together beautiful. They sat quietly for a while, Lisa writing and Mike reading over her shoulder. Outside, their neighborhood was settling into evening routines, porch lights coming on, the sound of families calling kids in for dinner, dogs barking their hellos to returning commuters. "We've had a good life," Mike said finally. "We're still having a good life," Lisa corrected. "This isn't over yet." The next week brought another chemotherapy session, and with it, the return of fatigue and nausea. But somehow it felt different now. Lisa had proof that good days still existed, that joy could coexist with cancer, that love could be stronger than fear. Patricia was in her usual chair, this time knitting what looked like a baby blanket. "Another grandchild?" Lisa asked, settling in beside her. "Great-grandchild," Patricia beamed. "Due in the fall. I'm making this in yellow since they want to be surprised about the gender." "That's wonderful," Lisa said, and meant it. Patricia's stories about her growing family had become one of the bright spots of treatment days. "You know what I've learned?" Patricia said, not looking up from her knitting. "Cancer doesn't pause life. Life keeps happening around it, through it, in spite of it. The trick is not missing the good parts while you're fighting the bad parts." Lisa thought about that as the medicine dripped into her arm. Life wasn't on hold because she had cancer. Tommy was still learning and growing. Amy was still discovering the world. Mike was still the man she'd fallen in love with, maybe more so now that she'd seen how he handled crisis. "You're right," Lisa said. "Life doesn't wait." "Nope," Patricia agreed, holding up the blanket to check her progress. "And neither should we." That night, despite feeling weak from treatment, Lisa sat at the kitchen table with her family for dinner. Elena had made beef stew, and while Lisa couldn't eat much, she could listen to Tommy talk about his science project and Amy describe the butterfly that had landed on her finger at recess. This is life, Lisa thought to herself, watching her family around the table. This ordinary, beautiful, precious life. Later, as Mike helped her get ready for bed, Lisa caught sight of herself in the bathroom mirror. She was thin now and completely bald, and her skin had a grayish tint from the chemotherapy, but her eyes were still bright, still full of fight. "I love you," she said to Mike's reflection. "I love you too," he replied, wrapping his arms around her from behind. "Always." In that moment, standing in their small bathroom in their modest house, surrounded by the evidence of their shared life, Lisa felt something that surprised her. Not just love, not just gratitude, but actual happiness. Cancer had taken a lot from them, but it hadn't taken everything. Not even close. The scan was supposed to be routine. After 3 months of chemotherapy, Dr. Williams wanted to see how much the tumor had shrunk. Lisa and Mike drove to the hospital that Tuesday morning with cautious optimism. The treatments had been brutal, but Lisa had been handling them better than expected. "I bet it's gotten smaller," Lisa said as they sat in the waiting room. "I've been feeling stronger lately." Mike squeezed her hand. "Whatever it says, we'll deal with it." The scan itself was quick, just lying still while machines hummed and clicked around her. Lisa tried to stay relaxed, thinking about the good days they'd been having. Tommy had made the all-star team. Amy had learned to tie her shoes. Small victories that felt enormous. Dr. Williams called 2 days later and asked them to come in. Her voice was carefully neutral, which immediately made Lisa's stomach drop. Good news usually came with smiles in the voice. Bad news came with careful professional tones. They sat in the same office where they'd first heard the word cancer. Dr. Williams had Lisa's scans pulled up on her computer screen, pointing to areas that looked like clouds and shadows to Lisa, but clearly meant something specific to the doctor. "I'm afraid the tumor hasn't responded as well as we'd hoped," Dr. Williams said gently. "It shrunk slightly, but not nearly as much as we expected after 3 months of treatment." Lisa felt the room tilt sideways. "What does that mean?" "It means this particular type of chemotherapy isn't as effective for your cancer as we'd hoped. We need to change our approach." Mike's hand found hers automatically. "What kind of change?" "There's a newer treatment protocol. More aggressive, but with better results for cases like yours. The side effects are more intense, but we've seen good responses." Lisa listened as Dr. Williams explained the new treatment plan. More frequent sessions, stronger medications, side effects that would likely be much worse than what she'd already experienced. "How much worse?" Lisa asked. Dr. Williams was honest. "Most patients find it much more difficult. Severe fatigue, increased nausea, potential nerve damage in your hands and feet. Some patients develop mouth sores that make eating very painful. The drive home was quiet. Lisa stared out the window at the familiar streets of their town, thinking about how different everything looked when hope got complicated. That evening, they sat the kids down for another family meeting. Tommy and Amy had gotten used to these talks, but Lisa could see the worry in their eyes when Mike called them to the kitchen table. The first medicine isn't working as well as the doctors wanted, Lisa explained, trying to keep her voice steady. So we're going to try a different medicine that's stronger. Will it make you more sick? Amy asked, climbing into Lisa's lap. Maybe for a while, Lisa admitted, but the doctors think it will work better. Tommy had been quiet, but now he looked up from the table. Are you going to die? It was the second time he'd asked that question, and it didn't get easier to answer. I don't know, Lisa said honestly. The doctors are doing everything they can to help me get better, and I'm going to keep fighting as hard as I can. We all are, Mike added. This whole family is fighting together. The new treatment started the following Monday. Lisa knew within hours that this would be much harder than the first round. The nausea hit faster and harder. By evening, she could barely lift her head from the pillow. Maybe this was a mistake, she whispered to Mike that night. It's just the first day, Mike said, though his voice was tight with worry. Give it time, but time only made things worse. By the end of the first week, Lisa couldn't keep food down at all. Elena made endless varieties of soup and smoothies, but everything came back up within minutes. Lisa lost weight rapidly, her already thin frame becoming fragile. The mouth sores developed during the second week. Eating became agony and talking was painful. Lisa communicated mostly through gestures and whispered words. The kids adapted by drawing pictures for her instead of trying to have conversations. I drew us at the beach, Amy said softly, showing Lisa a crayon drawing of stick figures with big smiles standing next to blue waves. For when you feel better and we can go back. Lisa's eyes filled with tears as she nodded her appreciation. Mike had to take more time off work, something that worried him constantly. The medical bills were piling up despite insurance, and missing work meant missing income they couldn't afford to lose. But Lisa needed full-time care now, and there was no question about priorities. She's getting weaker, Elena said to Mike one evening while Lisa slept. They were speaking in the kitchen, voices low so they wouldn't wake her. I know, Mike replied, exhaustion clear in his voice. But Dr. Williams says this is normal. Some patients get worse before they get better. And if she doesn't get better, Mike didn't answer. He couldn't. Patricia called when Lisa missed 2 treatment appointments in a row because she was too weak to leave the house. Honey, I know it's hard. Patricia's voice came through the phone speaker Mike held near Lisa's ear. I went through something similar with my second round of treatment. I thought I was going to die, honestly. But I didn't, and neither will you. Lisa managed a small smile and whispered, Thank you. You fight, you hear me? Patricia continued. That family of yours needs you. The lowest point came 3 weeks into the new treatment. Lisa had lost so much weight that her clothes hung loose on her frame. She could barely walk from the bedroom to the bathroom without help. Worst of all, she could see the fear in her family's eyes when they looked at her. Maybe we should stop, she whispered to Mike one night. Maybe I should just let go. No, Mike said firmly, taking her face in his hands. We don't give up, not us, not our family. I'm so tired, Lisa cried, the words barely audible. I know, Mike said, pulling her close. But you're still here. You're still fighting. And as long as you're fighting, we're fighting with you. Dr. Williams ordered blood tests and another scan to check Lisa's progress. The day they went to get the results, Lisa was so weak that Mike had to use a wheelchair to get her from the car to the office. I won't lie to you, Dr. Williams said, studying the computer screen. These have been a very difficult few weeks. But I have good news. The tumor is responding. It's smaller than it's been since your diagnosis. Lisa felt like she'd been holding her breath for months and could finally exhale. How much smaller? Mike asked. Significantly smaller. The new treatment is working, even though it's been so hard on you. Driving home that day, Lisa felt something she hadn't felt in weeks. Hope. Not the naive hope they'd started with, but hope that had been tested and proven resilient. Hope that could coexist with fear and pain and uncertainty. We did it, she whispered to Mike as they pulled into their driveway. We're doing it, Mike corrected. It's not over yet. That night, for the first time in weeks, Lisa managed to eat a few spoonfuls of Elena's chicken soup without getting sick. Tommy sat beside her bed reading his homework assignment out loud, and Amy curled up next to her, careful not to bump the spots that hurt. "Are you getting better, Mommy?" Amy asked. "Yes," Lisa said, and for the first time in a long time she actually believed it. Slowly, but yes. Outside their bedroom window, spring was turning into summer. The tree Mike had planted when Tommy was born was full of leaves, casting dancing shadows on their wall. Life was moving forward, carrying them along with it, toward whatever came next. Lisa closed her eyes and listened to her family around her, Mike putting dishes away in the kitchen, Elena helping Tommy with his math, Amy humming a song she'd learned at school. These sounds, these people, this love, it was worth fighting for. It was worth every difficult day, every painful treatment, every moment of fear. The battle wasn't over, but they were winning. One day, one treatment, one small victory at a time. The conversation with Dr. Williams that changed everything happened on a Thursday in late June. Lisa had completed the aggressive treatment protocol and was feeling stronger than she had in months. They'd gone to the appointment expecting to discuss surgery, the next step in their battle plan. Instead, Dr. Williams pulled up new scans and her expression was carefully controlled. "I need to be honest with you both," she began. "While the tumor has shrunk significantly, the cancer has spread to lymph nodes we couldn't see before. This changes our approach considerably." Lisa felt Mike's hand tighten around hers. "What does that mean exactly?" "It means surgery isn't an option right now. The cancer is more advanced than we initially thought." Dr. Williams leaned forward, her voice gentle but direct. "We're talking about managing this disease rather than curing it." The words hung in the air like smoke. Lisa heard them, understood them, but couldn't quite believe they applied to her. "How long?" Mike asked, his voice barely a whisper. "It's hard to say. Some patients live for years with management, Dr. Williams trailed off. "I'd say we should think in terms of months to a couple of years, depending on how you respond to treatment." The drive home was silent except for the radio playing soft music that seemed completely wrong for the moment. Lisa stared out the window at ordinary people doing ordinary things. Walking dogs, checking mail, washing cars. How could the world look exactly the same when everything had just changed? "We don't tell the kids yet," Lisa said finally. "Not until we figure out how." Mike nodded, not trusting his voice. That night, after Tommy and Amy were asleep, Lisa and Mike sat in their backyard under the stars. The same stars they'd looked at when they were teenagers, when they got engaged, when they brought each baby home from the hospital. Somehow the stars made everything feel both bigger and smaller at the same time. "I'm not ready," Lisa whispered. "Neither am I," Mike replied, pulling her closer on the old porch swing he'd hung when they first bought the house. "What do we do now?" Mike was quiet for a long time. "We live," he said finally. "We love our kids, we make memories, we don't waste a single day." Over the next few weeks, Lisa and Mike quietly rearranged their priorities. Mike's boss had been understanding about the time off, but now Mike made the difficult decision to step back from his foreman position and take a regular crew job. "With more flexible hours, we don't need the extra money as much as we need the extra time," he explained to Lisa. Lisa started what she called her memory projects when she spent hours going through photo albums, organizing pictures and writing notes about each one. She recorded herself reading the kids' favorite bedtime stories, her voice strong and clear for the camera. "Why are you making videos of reading?" Amy asked one afternoon, perched on Lisa's lap during one recording session. "So I can read to you even when I'm not here," Lisa said carefully. "Where are you going?" "Nowhere right now, sweetheart. This is just in case, but the most important project was the letters." Lisa wrote birthday cards for Tommy and Amy for the next 10 years. Sweet 16 parties she might not see. High school graduations she might miss. Wedding days that felt impossibly far away but suddenly seemed to be rushing toward them. She wrote letters for Mike too, though those were harder. Letters for their anniversary each year. For Father's Day. For the day he might meet someone new, though writing that one made her cry so hard she had to stop and come back to it. "Later, you have to promise me something," she said to Mike one evening as she sealed another batch of letters. "Anything. Promise me you'll find love again. Maybe not right away, but someday. The kids need to see what a good marriage looks like, and you deserve to be happy." Mike shook his head. "I can't think about that." "You have to," Lisa insisted gently. "I need to know that you'll all be okay." They decided to take a family trip, something they'd talked about for years but never managed to do. Disney World felt too overwhelming given Lisa's energy levels, so they chose a lake house in the mountains, a place where they could relax and just be together. The week at the lake became magical in ways none of them expected. Lisa felt stronger in the mountain air, strong enough to go on short hikes with the family and sit by the water in the evenings. Tommy caught his first fish, and Amy collected so many interesting rocks that they had to buy an extra bag for the trip home. "This is perfect," Lisa said one evening as they all sat on the dock watching the sunset. Mike had his arm around her and Tommy and Amy were pointing out shapes in the clouds. "Look, Mommy," Amy called out. "That cloud looks like a heart." "I see it," Lisa replied, thinking that everything looked like a heart when you were learning to say goodbye. They took hundreds of pictures that week. Lisa insisted on photos of every meal, every activity, every quiet moment. She wanted Tommy and Amy to have proof of this time when they were all together and happy. Back home, life took on a different rhythm. Lisa's energy came in waves now. Good days when she could go to Tommy's baseball games or help Amy with art projects, and difficult days when getting out of bed felt impossible. On the good days, they made the most of every moment. They had picnics in the backyard and movie marathons on rainy afternoons. Lisa taught Amy how to braid friendship bracelets and helped Tommy build a model airplane that took 3 days to complete. "Mom, will you help me with my science project?" Tommy asked one Saturday morning. "What's it about?" Lisa asked, grateful for a project that would let her sit at the kitchen table and still be useful. "The solar system." "I have to make a model." They spent the morning painting styrofoam balls and carefully positioning them on wooden dowels. Tommy was meticulous about getting the distances right, and Lisa found herself lost in the simple pleasure of creating something with her son. "Did you know that light from the sun takes 8 minutes to reach Earth?" Tommy said, painting Jupiter orange and brown. "I didn't know that," Lisa admitted. "So when we look at the sun, we're seeing it as it was 8 minutes ago?" "Exactly." Tommy beamed, proud of his knowledge. Lisa thought about that as they worked. Time wasn't the straight line she'd always imagined. The past and present and future were all mixed up together, like layers in a painting that showed through each other. Elena had become more than a helper. She'd become their anchor. She kept the house running on the difficult days and celebrated with them on the good days. She learned to read Lisa's moods and energy levels, knowing when to encourage activity and when to insist on rest. "I don't know what we'd do without you," Lisa said to her sister one evening. "You'd figure it out," Elena replied, "but you don't have to." The hardest conversation came on a quiet Sunday afternoon in August. Lisa was having a good day, strong enough to sit in the backyard while the kids played. Mike was grilling burgers and the smell of charcoal mixed with the scent of Elena's flowers created the perfect summer moment. "Tommy, Amy, can you come sit with me?" Lisa called. They ran over, grass stains on their knees and sunshine in their hair. "I need to tell you something important," Lisa began, her heart pounding. "You know how Mommy has been sick?" They nodded, suddenly serious. "Well, the doctors don't think their medicine can make me completely better." "What does that mean?" Amy asked, crawling into Lisa's lap. "It means that someday, maybe not for a while, but someday Mommy might have to go away." "Where?" Tommy asked, though his eyes suggested he already knew. "To heaven," Lisa said softly, "but not yet. I'm still here and we're going to have lots more good days together." Amy started crying and Tommy's face crumpled. Lisa pulled them both close, wishing she could protect them from this pain, knowing she couldn't. "But we'll always love each other," she continued, "and love is stronger than anything, even stronger than being far apart." They stayed like that for a long time, holding each other in the afternoon sunshine while Mike stood at the grill with tears streaming down his face, and Elena watched from the kitchen window with her hand over her heart. That night after the kids were finally asleep, Lisa and Mike lay in bed talking about the future. "I've been thinking about the house," Lisa said. "Maybe you should sell it. Start fresh somewhere without so many memories." "This is our home," Mike protested. "The kids grew up here." "Think about it," Lisa said. "You might need a fresh start." "I don't want a fresh start," Mike said firmly. "I want this life with you." "I know," Lisa whispered, tears sliding down her cheeks. "But that's not one of our choices." Outside their window, the summer night was full of sound. Crickets and night birds, the distant hum of air conditioners, a dog barking somewhere down the street. All the sounds of life continuing, of the world spinning forward whether they were ready or not. Lisa closed her eyes and listened. memorizing it all. This house, this man beside her, this life they'd built together. If time was really like Tommy's solar system model, with past and present and future all existing at once, then maybe none of this would ever really be lost. Maybe love really was stronger than anything, even time itself. By October, Lisa's world had grown smaller in some ways and infinitely larger in others. She rarely left the house now, but their living room had become a gathering place for everyone who loved her. Friends stopped by with coffee and conversation. Former students sent artwork and letters. Patricia visited twice a week, bringing stories from the treatment center and updates about her great-grandchild who had been born healthy and perfect. "She's got the strongest grip," Patricia said, showing Lisa photos on her phone. "The nurse said she's never seen a baby hold on so tight." "She knows what's important," Lisa replied, studying the pictures of tiny fingers wrapped around Patricia's thumb. Lisa had arranged her days around energy and comfort. Mornings were often her best time, when she could sit at the kitchen table with coffee and watch Mike get the kids ready for school. She'd wave from the window as they left. Tommy with his backpack and baseball glove, Amy with her art supplies and a new hair bow Elena had bought her. "Have a good day at school." She'd call out and they'd turn and wave back, their smiles bright even though she could see the worry they carried. The afternoons belonged to visitors and quiet activities. Lisa had started what she called her story time sessions, where she'd tell Tommy and Amy about their family history, about their grandparents who had passed away before the kids were born, about Mike's father, who had built houses with his hands and taught Mike everything he knew about construction. "Your grandfather could fix anything," Lisa said one afternoon while Amy colored beside her on the couch. "Once our washing machine broke, and instead of calling a repairman, he took the whole thing apart on the kitchen floor. Grandma was so mad, but he got it working better than it ever had." "Will Daddy teach me to fix things?" Amy asked, not looking up from her coloring book. "I'm sure he will," Lisa said. "Daddy knows how to fix almost everything." Evenings were for family time. Mike had become the master of simple dinners that could be eaten in the living room, where Lisa could rest on the couch and still be part of the conversation. They'd watch movies together, play board games, or just talk about their days. "Mrs. Johnson said our class is going to do a play about the solar system," Tommy announced one evening over grilled cheese sandwiches. "I get to be Mars." "That's perfect," Lisa said. "Mars is the brave planet, the one that looks red because it's so determined to stand out." Tommy grinned. "I didn't know planets could be brave." "Everything can be brave when it needs to be," Lisa replied. The hardest part wasn't the physical symptoms, though those were getting worse. Lisa was losing weight despite Elena's careful attention to nutrition, and some days the pain medication made her feel disconnected from everything around her. The hardest part was watching her family learn to function without her. Mike had become surprisingly good at braiding hair and packing lunches. Elena had taken over most of the household management, but in a way that felt natural rather than intrusive. Tommy and Amy were developing independence she was proud of, but also mourned. They could get themselves ready for bed now, brush their own teeth, find their own clothes for school. "I'm not sure if I should be happy or sad that you're all getting so good at this," Lisa said to Mike one evening. "Both," Mike replied honestly. "I'm proud of how strong the kids are being, but I hate that they have to be." Lisa's doctor visits had shifted from treatment to comfort care. Dr. Williams still monitored her condition, but the focus now was on managing symptoms and maintaining quality of life, rather than fighting the cancer. "How are you feeling about everything?" Dr. Williams asked during one of these visits. "Grateful," Lisa said, surprising herself with the answer. "I know that sounds strange, but I feel grateful for all of it." "Even this? That doesn't sound strange at all," Dr. Williams replied. "Many patients in your situation talk about unexpected gifts, perspective, deeper relationships, clarity about what really matters. I just wish I had more time," Lisa admitted. "We all do," Dr. Williams said gently, "but you're using the time you have beautifully." November brought the first snow, and Lisa insisted that Mike help her to the living room window so she could watch it fall. She'd always loved the first snow of the season, the way it transformed everything familiar into something magical. "Look how quiet it makes everything," she said to Amy, who was curled up next to her on the couch. "It's like the world is sleeping," Amy observed. "Maybe it's like the world is thinking," Lisa suggested. "Sometimes we need quiet to think about important things." Lisa's sister Elena had taken indefinite leave from her job to help full-time. She'd become the keeper of routines and schedules, making sure homework got done and permission slips got signed. But more than that, she'd become Lisa's closest confidant during the long afternoon hours when the kids were at school and Mike was at work. "I keep thinking about all the things I'm going to miss," Lisa said one afternoon while Elena folded laundry nearby. "Tell me," Elena said, settling into the chair beside the couch. "Tommy's first girlfriend, teaching Amy to drive, your wedding if you ever decide to marry David, grandchildren who might have my eyes or Mike's stubborn streak." "You'll know about all of it," Elena said firmly. "I'll tell you everything even if you can't hear me." Lisa smiled. "Promise me you'll marry David. He's good for you and life's too short to wait for perfect timing." "I promise," Elena said, tears in her eyes. "But only if you promise to be there somehow." December arrived with a burst of activity as the family prepared for what everyone knew might be Lisa's last Christmas. They decorated earlier than usual, with Lisa directing from the couch while Mike and the kids hung ornaments and strung lights. "Higher on the left," Lisa called out as Mike adjusted the star on top of their tree. "Perfect." Amy had made special ornaments at school, handprint angels with glitter and ribbon. "This one's for you, Mommy," she said, hanging it right in front where Lisa could see it from the couch. "It's beautiful," Lisa said. "The most beautiful angel I've ever seen." They took family photos by the tree, dozens of them with everyone trying to capture the perfect moment. But the perfect moment wasn't in any single picture. It was in the laughter between shots, in Tommy's jokes that made everyone giggle, in Amy's insistence that they take just one more. Christmas morning was gentle and unhurried. Lisa watched from the couch as Tommy and Amy opened presents, their excitement infectious even though she felt weak and distant from the pain medication. Mike had set up a camera to record everything, something that made Lisa both happy and heartbroken. "Look, Mommy," Amy called out, holding up a new set of colored pencils. "Now I can draw even better pictures for you." "I can't wait to see them," Lisa said, though her voice was getting weaker by the day. That afternoon, while the kids played with their new toys and Mike dozed in his chair, Lisa looked around their living room and tried to memorize everything. The way the Christmas lights cast colored shadows on the walls, the sound of Amy humming while she drew, the sight of Tommy reading a new book completely absorbed in the story. This was her life. Not the cancer, not the treatments, not the fear and sadness. This ordinary, extraordinary afternoon with her family around her, safe and loved and together. If she could take one moment with her into whatever came next, it would be this one. Outside, snow was falling again, covering their street in clean white silence. Inside, the house was warm and full of the people who mattered most. Lisa closed her eyes and listened to the sounds of her family's happiness, storing it all away in her heart where cancer could never touch it. Soon, she knew, the circle would grow smaller still. But right now, in this moment, she was exactly where she belonged, surrounded by love that would outlast anything the world could take away. January came quietly, bringing with it a sense of time folding in on itself. Lisa's world had contracted to their bedroom, but somehow it felt fuller than ever. The walls were covered with artwork from her students, family photos, and Amy's latest drawings. Tommy had moved a chair next to her bed where he did his homework every afternoon, reading his assignments aloud so she could help even when speaking was difficult. Mike had taken extended leave from work, something his boss supported without question. The construction company had even organized a fund to help with expenses, another reminder of how their small community had wrapped around their family during this journey. "You don't have to stay here all the time," Lisa whispered to Mike one afternoon. "You should get some fresh air." "There's nowhere else I want to be," Mike replied, adjusting her pillows for the third time in an hour. He'd become an expert at anticipating her needs, when she needed water, when the pillows needed fluffing, when the pain medication was wearing off. Dr. Williams had explained that this stage would be about comfort, about being surrounded by love rather than fighting for cure. A hospice nurse named Carol came by twice a week to check on Lisa and help the family understand what to expect. She was gentle and practical, teaching Mike how to manage medications and helping the children understand that being sad was normal and healthy. "Can I still read to Mommy?" Amy asked Carol during one visit. "Of course," Carol said. "Reading, singing, talking, all of those things are wonderful. Even when she seems sleepy, she can hear you." Lisa's days had become a pattern of small, precious moments. Elena would bring coffee and sit quietly while Lisa drifted in and out of consciousness. Tommy would show her his math homework, explaining each problem even when she couldn't respond. Amy would climb carefully onto the bed and snuggle close, her small body warm against Lisa's side. Patricia visited one last time, bringing photos of her great-granddaughter's first Christmas. She smiled yesterday, Patricia reported, holding the phone where Lisa could see. A real smile, not just gas. The doctor said it's early, but I know what I saw. Lisa managed a small smile in return. Even now, Patricia's joy in new life felt like a gift. You fight, you hear? Patricia said softly, taking Lisa's hand. But if you need to rest, that's okay too. You fought so hard, honey, so hard. By late January, Lisa was sleeping most of the time, but her family had learned to read the subtle signs that meant she was listening. A small movement of her hand when Mike spoke. A slight change in breathing when the children laughed. She was still there, still present, even when she couldn't show it clearly. Mike slept in the chair beside their bed now, waking every few hours to check on her. He'd lost weight and had dark circles under his eyes, but refused Elena's suggestions that he rest in the guest room. I want to be here, he said simply. When she's ready, I want to be here. The children had adapted to this new reality with the resilience that amazed all the adults around them. They understood that Mommy was very sick and might not get better. They knew to be gentle, to speak softly, to treasure the moments when she was awake and alert. On a Tuesday morning in early February, Lisa woke up feeling clearer than she had in weeks. The fog of medication had lifted slightly, and she could see Mike sitting in his chair, watching her with tired but loving eyes. Hey, she whispered, her voice barely audible. Hey yourself, Mike replied, immediately moving to the bed and taking her hand. How are you feeling? Like me, Lisa said with effort. Is it morning? Yeah, the kids are getting ready for school. Want me to call them? Lisa nodded and Mike went to the top of the stairs. Tommy, Amy, come say good morning to Mom. They came running, careful but excited to see their mother awake and aware. Tommy showed her a picture he'd drawn of their family, all four of them holding hands under a rainbow. Amy climbed gently onto the bed and gave Lisa a soft kiss on the cheek. I love you, Mommy, Amy whispered. I love you too, baby girl. Lisa managed. Be good at school today. After the children left, Lisa and Mike had precious hours together. They talked quietly about ordinary things, the weather, plans for the day, memories of their early years together. Lisa's voice was weak, but her thoughts were clear. I need you to promise me something, she said during one of these conversations. Anything. Promise me you'll help the kids remember the good stuff. Not just this part, but all of it. The camping trips and the birthday parties and the times we were just happy. I promise, Mike said, tears sliding down his cheeks. And promise me you'll find someone to love again. Maybe not soon, but someday. The kids need to see what a good marriage looks like. Mike shook his head. I can't think about that. You have to, Lisa insisted gently. I need to know you'll all be happy. That afternoon, Elena sat with Lisa while Mike took a short walk around the block. It was the first time he'd left the house in days. I'm proud of you, Elena said, holding Lisa's hand. Proud of how you've handled all of this. I'm scared, Lisa admitted. That's okay, Elena replied. Being scared doesn't make you less brave. As evening approached, the whole family gathered in the bedroom. Tommy sat in his usual chair doing homework, though he kept glancing up to make sure his mother was still there. Amy had fallen asleep curled against Lisa's side, her small hand resting on her mother's arm. Mike dozed fitfully in his chair, jerking awake every time Lisa's breathing changed slightly. Elena came and went quietly, bringing tea and making sure everyone was comfortable. Near midnight, Lisa stirred. The house was quiet except for the familiar sounds of their life. The heat clicking on, footsteps in the hallway, Mike's steady breathing from his chair. Mike, she whispered. He was beside her instantly, taking her hand. I'm here. Lisa looked at him in the dim light from the hallway, memorizing his face one last time. The lines around his eyes that came from years of smiling. The strong hands that had built their life together. The love in his expression that had never wavered, not even through this. Don't let go, she whispered. Her voice so soft he had to lean close to hear. Mike understood that she meant more than just this moment. She meant their love, their family, the life they'd built together. She meant the promises they'd made and the dreams they'd shared. She meant everything that mattered. Never, Mike promised, pulling her closer. I'll never let go. Lisa felt Mike's arms around her, felt the warmth of Amy sleeping against her side, heard Tommy's gentle breathing from his chair. Elena was there too, she knew, probably watching from the doorway. All the people who loved her, all the love that had made her life worth living. The pain that had been her constant companion for months seemed to fade away. The fear that had haunted her dreams disappeared. There was only love now, only the certainty that she had been blessed beyond measure. I love you, she whispered to Mike, to her children, to everyone who had made her journey beautiful. We love you too, Mike replied, his voice breaking, always. Lisa closed her eyes and let herself rest. Outside their window, the world continued its eternal dance. Stars wheeling overhead, snow falling silently on their quiet street, life moving forward in all its messy, beautiful complexity. But inside their small bedroom, in the circle of her family's love, time stood still. Lisa felt herself drifting toward whatever came next, carried by the absolute certainty that love was stronger than anything, stronger than cancer, stronger than fear, stronger even than goodbye. Mike held her as if forever wasn't long enough, because it wasn't and never could be. But the love they'd shared, the family they'd created, the joy they'd found in ordinary moments, that was forever. That was the part cancer could never touch. When Lisa slipped away 2 hours later, she was surrounded by everyone who loved her. And Mike kept his promise. He didn't let go. Not of her hand, not of their love, not of the beautiful, broken, perfect life they'd shared. In the days that followed, as friends and family gathered to celebrate Lisa's life, everyone agreed on one thing. She had shown them all how to love without holding back, how to find joy in small moments, how to face the impossible with grace. Tommy and Amy would grow up knowing their mother had been extraordinary, not because of how she died, but because of how she lived. They would remember her laughter, her creativity, her fierce love for their family. They would carry her with them always in their hearts where love lives forever. And Mike, true to his promise, would never let go of the love that had defined his life. Even as he eventually learned to love again, even as their family grew and changed and found new happiness, the love he'd shared with Lisa would remain unbroken, undiminished, eternal. Some love stories end with goodbye. The best ones, like theirs, never really end at all.